Jan Ozer here. Today we're going to learn how to produce an H.264 file for flash distribution using Sorenson Squeeze. By way of background, the file that we're going to encode is a concert video that I shot in progressive mode, so we're not going to need to worry about deinterlacing this file. It's a file that I shot in 16:9 format, so we need to tell Mr. Squeeze that's what we're doing. And here's the group, Loose Strings, a local Galax band. This shot was for their entry for America's Got Talent, and we're still waiting to hear if they actually got in the show. Now, a couple things about this file that we're producing. Number one, again, it's producing for Flash, so we want to make sure it's got a Flash-compatible extension. Number two, we're going to be distributing it via progressive download, not streaming, so we'll use a variable bitrate technique rather than a constant bitrate encoding technique. When you're working with Squeeze and you're creating a set of encoding parameters that you're going to use repeatedly, I recommend just creating a new preset, because that way you can save those parameters most easily. So right-click, choose MPEG-4, and then here's the preset that we'll be working with. And let's just name it right away. We'll call it Flash Music Video H.264. Okay, working from the top left, around this way, and then back up with audio where we'll finish. In terms of format constraints, again, it's a Flash video file, so we want to produce using the F4V extension. You want to make sure that non-streaming, non-hinted is selected. When you're producing H.264 with Sorenson Squeeze, you're going to have multiple H.264 options, and the highest quality option is always going to be the main concept H.264 codec, so choose that. Again, because we're producing for progressive download rather than streaming, we don't want to use a CBR technique, we want to use a VBR technique, and multi-pass will give you the highest quality file, though it may take a little bit longer to produce. I want to produce this file at 600 kilobits per second, which should give us a pretty high quality file, but one that most people can play in real time. We want to make sure that we constrain the maximum data rate to 200% of that. So our target is going to be 600, and then we're going to constrain that to 1200 kilobits per second. Frame size, we're going to go with 640 by 360, which is a nice 16:9 output resolution. We're coming from 16:9 dV. Now, the aspect ratio of 16:9 dV is 1.2. And whenever you produce a streaming file, you want a square pixel output. So we don't want to maintain the aspect ratio. We want to go from 1.2 to square. We don't want a letterbox or pillar. We don't want black bars on the tops or sides. So we want to select unconstrained here, and that will give us a good result. In terms of frame rate, I want 29.97. Could also use 1.1, which gives you one frame of compressed output per each frame of compressed input, but I'll just go 29.97. Whenever I produce for streaming, I use a keyframe every 300 frames, and I always make sure that auto keyframe on scene change is selected. And that tells Squeeze, look, if there's a scene change, insert a keyframe there, which gives you the highest quality streaming video that you can get. Okay, now we're down into the meat of the matter, which is the H.264 specific parameters. ABC profile, if you were producing for an iPod, it wouldn't load on the iPod unless you produce using the baseline profile. In this case, we don't care about iPods. We're going only progressive download via the internet. Because it's for Flash, we're going to use the high profile. We have the option to go progressive or interlaced here. Always go progressive when you're producing for streaming. Squeeze gives you the option to produce with different encoding efforts. Best gives you the highest quality video. Takes about, I think, about 50% longer. Unless you're in an extreme hurry, I would always go with best. B-frames are very efficient frames specific to H.264 and some other codecs. Short answer is use 3 B-frames in your stream. CABC coding is entropy encoding. There are 2 techniques, CABAC, which is the higher quality, about 15% better quality than CABLC, which is what you get if you say no in this field. If you're producing for computer playback, then I would always say yes. If you add slices here on a multiprocessor machine, you get faster encoding, but you can lose quality. So again, unless you're in a real hurry, I would always say 0 slices. On to audio. Use AAC audio, gives you the highest compatibility. Data rate, because it's a music video, I'm going to go with 128 kilobits per second. Sample size of 16 is good. I want to go 44.1 kilohertz. Because it's music again, I would go stereo. If this was a talking head shot with a camcorder or even a lavalier or boom microphone, I would go mono. Okay, flash music video. Let's check our preset. Go back here, 600, 200, 640, 360. Okay, that's all looking good. So now let's save our preset, and it's right here. To apply it to the file, you click Apply, and there it is. Now Squeeze, unless you change the option in the preferences, will always apply the auto crop deinterlace filter to your video files. And that's good if you're producing with interlaced input. In this case, I'm working with progressive input, so I don't need to deinterlace, and I don't want to crop either. You could either uncheck these or simply delete it here. Going to go off screen for a second. And when you're ready to go, you click Squeeze. Then you've started production of your H.264 file in Sorenson Squeeze. That's all for this show. Thanks for watching.